Welcome everyone, and thank everyone for coming out to this media lunch. It's kind of an informal media lunch, but we want to thank Enda Keenan for his hospitality here at Legends Sports Bar. He's been very supportive of the event, very supportive of us bringing Callum here to New York City, and he has got a great relationship and a long history with Madison Square Garden. So I want to thank Enda for his hospitality. I want to thank all the media for their support for this event here. This is actually 10 weeks, Bernie reminded me, not 10 weeks, 10 years to the week after Triple G headlined Madison Square Garden Theater against Curtis Stevens. That was a huge fight for him, a huge launching pad to headline the Madison Square Garden Theater for him, and it really feels like we're going in the same steps with Callum now headlining Madison Square Garden Theater. Callum's 8-0 with 7 knockouts. He's 22 years old, so he's got a great future in front of him, trained by Hall of Fame trainer Freddie Roach. I mean, the support we've gotten from Dana White, I want to thank Dana for all of his support, UFC Fight Pass, Madison Square Garden. Naturally, the reception that we've gotten here in New York City just feels fantastic, and like I said, you know, it just feels, whether it's the power that Callum has, the marketability, the charisma, it just really feels like we're kind of recreating the situation with Triple G, where he was fighting on both coasts in New York City here and in Los Angeles, and I really think that Callum has all the makings of a global superstar. With that, I want to introduce a special fighter on the show, very popular Irishman, who's is bringing a lot of people on Thursday night to come see him fight. So I want to introduce Feargal McCrory, who's going to fight on the show.
Thank you, Tom. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to fight in the show. Also, a special mention to the lads here in Legends Bar for all their help and support. I'm really excited, working very hard with Colin Morgan here in New York City. The support that's coming is incredible, and it fills me with great pride. So it's an honour to represent those people, and yeah, us Irish are coming. Get ready, it's going to be a great night. And for a long time, there hasn't been an Irish fighter based solely in New York and coming here on a regular basis. So Callum's starting to do that, hopefully, and yeah, we're gonna light it up. Thank you.
We're excited to have Feargal on the show. As I mentioned, he sold a ton of tickets to the local Irish communities, as well as the fans coming over from Ireland. So we're excited. This is a huge platform and really a dream for Feargal to fight at Madison Square Garden at the theater. So we're excited about him being on the show. With that, I want to introduce someone who really needs no introduction, who's had many fighters fighting at Madison Square Garden, 42 champions. If I have the number correct, it keeps going up, but Hall of Fame trainer Freddie Roach. Freddie, if you can say a few words about being here at the Garden and how everything's gone with training Callum. And also, Freddie has actually 2 other fighters from his gym. One other fighter that he trains, Gor Yuritzian, and Umar Jambekov, who trains with Marvin Smodio, but both out of the Wildcard gym as well.
It's great to be here in New York. It gets some better, and I have 3 fighters on the show, and Callum is my main guy, and he's looking very good, and I can't wait to see him fight at Madison Square Garden. It's going to be great. Thank you.
You know, if you look at this show, you know, when we were planning to bring this, and I was talking to Sal Federico and Joel Fisher and all the Larry Torres, all the amazing staff at Madison Square Garden, we knew, especially being on UFC Fight Pass, we know Dana's standards as far as having competitive fights on UFC Fight Pass. We're really trying to bridge the gap between the UFC fans and the boxing fans. I think this is really the first attempt to cross-promote with an exciting boxer, but also with Dana's support and with UFC Fight Pass support, getting the UFC fans to tune into boxing. So we knew we had to put on a competitive show. All the matches are tremendous. As I mentioned, the fighters that Freddie has on, Gor Yuritzian is in a very tough fight against Veron from Argentina. Tane Sandoval, who's on the show, he's fighting Wesley Farrar from Brooklyn. And also Umar Jambekov is in a tough fight against the French Revolution. Frederick Joulin, also from Brooklyn. And Callum, he hasn't turned down one opponent that we've proposed to him, and Freddie supports him 100% in his ability. Callum has that rare ability to have an outstanding amateur career that's made a successful transition to the professional ranks, and we think that he's got a beautiful chemistry with Freddie Roach. Callum did a tremendous amount of publicity yesterday. He was on Sirius XM with Jerry Cooney. Jerry Cooney's actually going to be part of the broadcast team on Thursday night, so we're excited to have Jerry involved with the promotion. He's fought as a heavyweight. He's fought at Madison Square Garden before. Also very local, popular local Irish fighter who now has, as I mentioned, the Sirius XM radio with Randy Jordan. So Callum's done a tremendous amount of publicity. He was at the Knicks game last night, and this really is starting to feel like Callum's second home, with being in between the West Coast where he trains and all of his friends and family and fans in Ireland. This seems to be only the first of many fights in New York City. So with that, I want to turn it over to Callum Walsh, and then after Callum says a few words, we can certainly open it up to the media for questions, and then do any other one-on-one interviews that are desired.
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody involved in the promotion for the show. I want to thank Madison Square Garden for letting me fight there. Not only my ninth fight and going all in on the promotion. Put me up on the screen last night at the game, giving me a jersey, sitting me courtside, and I don't get much better than that. And especially Dana White, all the support that he's given me, that he's coming to the fight. He's going to bring some people out. And yeah, like Tom said a while ago, Tom thanked most of the people for me. But yeah, I look forward to. I'm going to thank you by putting on a big show Thursday night. That's all I'm going to thank you. I can say thank you here now all I want, but if I go in there and put on a shitty show on Thursday, you're not going to be happy. So I'm going to go in there Thursday and I'm going to put on the best show possible, give you a good fight, and that's how I thank you. And after, I'll meet you wherever, at the bar or whatever, and I'll thank you even more then for a couple of drinks, Forge Irish style. Yeah, so no, I'm just looking forward to putting on a good show Thursday night and getting the job done. And yeah, I'll be in New York on Monday, so I'll be around the place after the fight. Thank you.
I wanted to mention a couple of announcements. As Callum alluded to, I wanted to thank the sponsors for their show. Hustler of Hollywood is a large supporter of the Hollywood Boxing, Hollywood Fight Nights, and of Callum Walsh. Naturally, Howard, I had Whiskey, who's had a long-standing relationship with Callum and has been very supportive, and we just brought on a new sponsor, both for Callum personally and for the event, is Conor McGregor's Forged Irish Stout. So they've really gone above and beyond the relationship. Also, Tequila Mandala is going to be our official tequila for it. And I want to make an announcement that the after party, as Callum alluded to, after party will be here at Legends Sports Bar, hosted again by Enda. So we're looking forward to having all the fans come back here to celebrate the evening at Legends Sports Bar. And then tomorrow evening, I believe at 7 o'clock, we'll send out all the details officially, but at 7 o'clock, we're going to have the punch ball machine set up here in the front, and then we'll have a contest open to the fans, to anyone that wants to try to break Callum's record that he set in Boston. I believe it was 977, so we'll have a cash prize for the winner. If anyone can break his record, nobody in Boston could break his record, so we'll see if someone here from New York City can break his record, and then we'll also be giving some ticket giveaways to anyone that gets above a certain number. So we're looking forward to that here at Legends at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. We have a tremendous media turnout expected for tomorrow. That's one great thing about being the same week as UFC, the big UFC fight in the big building on Saturday night, that we're going to have the UFC media coming and the boxing media coming. So this might be the biggest media turnout that we've had at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So we're really looking forward to that. And the weigh-in is going to be tomorrow for the media. The weigh-in is going to be tomorrow at the Marriott Marquis starting at 4:30 p.m. And I know Bernie sent out a lot of the media alerts and Fred Sternberg, but just wanted to make that announcement as well. So anyone that wants to ask questions, we're happy to answer questions for anyone here on the panel, or like I said, we can always break it down into one-on-one interviews as well. you want to do, or you can ask us a question.
You can show them what you can.
Yeah.
Just say it?
Yeah, just show the question.
Yes, sir. How you doing, champ? Callum, as Mr. Loeffler said, being that you're involved in a major cross-promotion deal with UFC, do you feel any added pressure to, impress the UFC fan base and get them to cross over to boxing as boxing fans?
Yeah, I know the UFC fans are probably the hardest fans to impress. They're used to watching the UFC, they're watching the good fights all the time, watching good tough fights. On the UFC cards, you watch from the prelims all the way up to the main event. It's good tough fights, and that's the same thing we're trying to do. There's a lot because there is a lot of crossover fights happening now. A lot of boxers going to fight MMA fighters, and I think these fights need to happen. If you truly want to see who the best fighters are in the world, you can't just say you're the best fighter in the world and only fight MMA, or you can't say you're the best fighter in the world and only fight boxing. You have to do both, and that's the only way to find out. And yeah, like you said, the UFC fans are the hardest fans to impress, and that's why I'm never turn down an opponent, never say no to a fight. I'm always taking the toughest challenges, and hopefully someday I'll earn the respect of the UFC fans and be the only fighter that has both sides, and maybe be the only fighter that actually will go and do both sides. Fight boxing and maybe go into the UFC someday.
Wow.
So yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
That's been alluded to, and he's been asked that question many times. He trains with Tony Ferguson. He's trained with Kevin Holland. Many UFC fighters want to use his boxing skills for sparring. In fact, Freddie Roach has, or Jorge Masvidal has a lot of UFC fighters coming down to his gym to train, to learn, or to improve their stand-up skills. So if anyone's going to do it, I think Callum Walsh definitely has the ability to do it. We saw Holly Holm, who was a successful boxer. She went in and she was able to beat one of the most popular UFC champions ever in Ronda Rousey. So with Callum Walsh being only 22 years old and having the background that he has, both in boxing and learning the skills for mixed martial arts, I wouldn't be surprised at some point that you might see him in the octagon as well.
Wow. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing today? For either of the fighters, can you just talk a little bit more about representing Ireland and how special it is for you to be able to go into a place like Madison Square Garden and fight not only for yourselves but for a country like Ireland? And just reflect a little bit more on that, please.
Yeah, it's special. It's special to represent your country because whatever we do, our country gets behind us, and we show up and we show great support. So it's only right, as Callum touched on, about putting on great performances. We have to deliver. We're fighting Irish, and I believe me and Callum both will deliver and make all the Irish proud. The amount of Irish in New York City, there's a great connection there with so many Irish people here, and yeah, we do them proud. It's very, very important, and I'm sure I speak for Callum also, but to be Irish is something that is a privilege.
I always fight for my country. I always walk in with the flag. I always wear the flag after. So anybody back home knows I fight for my country. I've represented my country even before I came to Ireland. I fought at 5-6 European championships. I won a European gold medal for my country. Brought it back from Bulgaria. And right now, 2 fights ago, I just took a belt from here. Took a belt from Los Angeles and brought it back to my country. So everything I do for Ireland. And Thursday night, like I said, we're going to do it again. Put on a big show and represent the Irish. And out here, even not just the real Irish, even the American Irish that are out here. And all the Irish that are out here, get out of their houses and get to the fight on Thursday. And everyone that can't make it back home, obviously tune in UFC Fight Pass, and it'll be a good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I get one more? One more question from me, champ. Champ, you're 8-0 with 7 knockouts. I believe your only fight that went past 4 rounds was the one, only one of them. What are the chances that this fight goes the distance, or do you feel you'll get another opponent out of there as well?
Yeah, my only fight that went the distance was a 6-round fight because I didn't have enough rounds to get him out there. That's why I had to move straight to 10-round fights because I didn't want to be going the distance, you know. But and that fella ran as well for 6 rounds, so I was hard. He ran away. I would have caught him. He was getting tired, but I only had 6 rounds. But yeah, no, this time I feel like I'm going to come in. I'm not going to come into New York City and try to go the distance or go in there and move around and try to get some rounds. You know, I'm coming into New York City to finish this guy. You know, I'm fighting another up and coming fighter, and that's what I want to do. I want to come in here to New York into his back garden and put him away and show all the fans out here that I'm coming in. I'm here to stay. That's the point I want to prove on Thursday night.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to touch on that, you know, a lot of rising stars like Callum, who's got all this energy and promotion and momentum behind him, would never come into another young fighter who's very confident in winning. Ishmael Villareal is coming to win this fight. He's 13-1 with 10 knockouts, and that one loss was a split decision. I actually thought he won that fight on Showbox. So, like I mentioned, our promise to Dana White was to put on competitive fights. Freddie is very confident in Callum's ability. Callum is very confident in his own abilities, but Ishmael Villareal from the Bronx, he's bringing a lot of people. He sold a lot of tickets as well, and that's really what makes this card special. Is that you got on paper this is a 50-50 fight. Villareal has more experience than Callum has, and he's bringing a lot of fans with him. So this is what's going to bring a lot of fireworks out for fight night. Villareal has 10 knockouts out of 13 fights. He's got 7 knockouts out of 8 fights, so this is not going to be a boring fight at all. And that's what Dana wants on UFC Fight Pass for boxing. Are we good? There we go.
Well, Tom, first off, I'd like to find out a little bit more how you and Dana White got together. And as you were talking about Villareal, he was on Showbox. What are your thoughts about Showtime now? I guess they're sort of discontinuing some of their boxing. So how do you feel about that? And then Callum Walsh, tell me also about this opponent you'll be fighting. He is experienced.
Well, to answer your question about the relationship with Dana, I've known Dana for a number of years. In fact, when we were building Triple G as a global superstar, he actually had a quote that he said the only reason he watches boxing is to watch Triple G. So that's when we made the connection. We brought Triple G to a number of UFC fights, did also some cross promotion with him. As soon as we signed Callum to a promotional contract, I flew up, I told Dana we have this tremendous young fighter. Dana has a long history with Freddie Roach, so that fits in perfectly. Actually, Freddie trained Dana, and I don't know if you want to say a few words about that, but he's got a long history with Dana, both coming from Boston, and Dana couldn't be more supportive. Once we brought Callum up to his office, he was 100% behind him. He has so much success with the Irish fans for the UFC. All the success that he built on with Conor McGregor, and he sees the same potential and the same future for Callum Walsh on the boxing side. So he gave us the green light. He gave us UFC Fight Pass dates, which have become very, very valuable right now and important because, as you mentioned, with Showtime not being in boxing anymore, Showbox was a great platform to build young fighters to put on competitive fights. But we really feel that UFC Fight Pass now will kind of take over that spot where Callum can be active. This is his 5th fight in 12 months. Umar Shambekov, who's on the show, this is his 6th fight this year. So we can keep the fighters active, which is vitally important for young fighters to build their career and to build their fan base, both with ticket sales and fighting in front of the UFC Fight Pass fans. And then I'll let Callum speak a little bit more about Ishmael Villareal. I actually think that fight that he lost the decision to, a split decision, I actually thought he won that fight. If you go back and watch that on Showbox, I thought Villareal won that fight. So we're really, Callum's really fighting a fighter that many people thought was or is undefeated.
Yeah, I know everybody's saying that he's experienced, but sure, I have way more experience than him. You know, I fought 120 times before I even came over here to America. He has what, 14 pro fights. I have way more experience than him, and I'll show that on Thursday. You know, I fought the best of the best coming up through the amateurs. I fought Russian world champions. I've won 6 national titles. I've won a European gold medal. You know, I was 18 years old trying to qualify for the Olympics. I lost in the final. You know, at 18 years old. I have way more experience than this fella, and I'm going to show him. You know, I've been training the Wildcat nearly 3 years. I mean, I'm sparring the best of the best there. So, 14 pro fights is not enough experience to beat me.
I should correct what I said. He's got more professional experience than Callum. More professional fights, not more experience in the ring. I don't want to sell Callum short on that one. But, Freddie, why don't you talk about, to hit on her question, why don't you talk about your relationship with Dana leading all the way back to the days in Boston?
Yeah, Jamie came to the gym one day and he said, Freddie, he said, remember when we used to work out together in your father's gym? And I said, well, I really only remember good fighters. So I just stick it to him a little bit. Thanks a lot.
Freddie and Dana go way back in South Boston, so they have a long history together, and like I said, it couldn't be a better team. Callum's kind of called this a dream team with Freddie training him, where you need a very special chemistry with your trainer, Dana supporting him from his side, and then the experience that I have on the boxing side, you know, building previous stars. So this has really worked out well, and again, happy to answer any. We have plenty of time here. If anyone has more questions, happy to do that. Or like I said, we can break out into individual interviews. But we have plenty of time if there's any more questions from the media.
Anybody?
Might be better to just bring everyone up and just start doing one-on-ones.
Yeah. So if people want to come up, we can stay here on at the head table, and then you can ask, you know, bring your cameras or ask the questions up here, and happy to answer all of them.
Thank you.